Jujutsu Kaisen just released a new scan, and there's some characters in it that I wasn't expecting. We're getting Nanami, of course I expected him, and Mahito, but I did not expect them to put Eso in there, which is pretty interesting. And if you don't remember who Eso is, he's basically the middle brother of the brothers that we know. You know, Choso, he's the older brother, which is why he kind of wants a little bit of revenge now. But hey, I'm very excited about this stuff, and that's going to lead us into our anime question for today. Which of these three characters are you the most excited that's coming to the game currently? Me personally, I got to say Mahito. But we're basically just going to break down the stuff that we see in this little, scan, and really quickly just give you my thoughts on this and what we're thinking. So when we talk about Eso first, like we said, Eso, he uses blood technique, which is kind of similar to Choso, but he uses a rot technique, whereas if his blood gets on you, it kind of puts a curse on you, and you start to decay away. He can also use a technique called maximum wing, which basically allows him to also manipulate his blood and move a little bit quicker. The decay technique is similar to the rot technique, but when we look at the screenshot, it looks like it's basically saying once the blood gets on the opponent, I guess your damage is going to increase over time, which is pretty interesting how they're actually going to work with that. We move over to Nanami. Hey, they got to put the man Nanami in there. So we know that he's a swordsman. He also can use Black Flash. I think that he will fight with a sword in this game, from my opinion. And then he also has abilities like Overtime, which allows him to release more cursed energy over time. But we think that we're going to be putting in his ratio technique. That's what they're going to put in there. And when you look at the screenshot, the scan basically says, I guess something's going to pop up on the screen. And if you could give, if you do additional input at this time, you're going to get kind of like a critical strike, which is basically what his ratio technique is like. He basically allows him to find the weak point in an opponent and exploit that weak point. But what you didn't know about his ratio technique possibly is that he can also use this to affect objects. Whenever he was fighting Mahito, he was able to collapse the tunnel that they're in. So he can collapse a tunnel as well using his ratio technique. And then when we go over to Mahito, which is who I've been asking for this whole time, we know that he has a lot of things: enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, but he also has some of the highest cursed energy, and he even had more high cursed energy than Itadori after consuming 3 fingers. So there's as we know, the different characters in this game are going to have different cursed energy meters and different amounts of cursed energy. Mahito might end up being one of those characters that have more cursed energy than anybody in the game because of how much he actually has. And as far as we can bring, we can use his idle transfiguration, and he is able to heal while using this technique. So while he can also change into different animals and change his body parts, he can heal. So he might be one of those characters that can actually heal himself, which is going to be a big game changer. He also can utilize soul manipulation, making morphing souls together and creating creatures. He can also drop down veils, and of course we know that he has his domain expansion, which is the self-embodiment of perfection, which basically allows him to touch the souls of his opponent, and he can manipulate them in any kind of way that he wants, which is pretty crazy. And it looks like from the screenshot, it looks like we're getting his domain expansion, which is going to be the self-embodiment of perfection, which I think is pretty cool. But what we really get from this screenshot, the fact that we're getting Eso, which in my opinion was, he was an important character, but he wasn't one of the main big bads around there. But the fact that they're implementing him, and I kind of thought they would when I saw him in the story, this means they might implement all the characters that are going to be in the Jujutsu Kaisen story, which means this game might be way bigger than what we thought. Pretty much this might mean anybody that's getting a cutscene, anybody that's getting a fight, they might get in the game. So this means we might see Momo, we might pretty much see all of the second years, like anybody from the Kyoto campus, since they're going to be involved in the fights in the sister arc, we might see all of them. And since this game already says they're going to include everything from Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 and 0, this means that we can almost guarantee that we're going to get Geto, and we might get other characters as well. People like Miguel, Nanako, and Minako, and also we might get Haruta, since we know that he's been around. He was in this Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie, and he was also around whenever they started, dealing with the Shibuya incident arc now, and actually he was also involved with the sister arc. But this is just pretty crazy how they're actually including characters that are part of the story, like just part of the normal story mode. So this roster might be way bigger than what I actually predicted. But if you are interested in my predictions of what this roster is actually going to look like, make sure to go check out that video up there. I linked it up there. And let me know your thoughts about us getting Eso, Nanami, and Mahito. I was expecting to maybe get a character trailer this week, but maybe not. So we might get a character trailer with these guys maybe in the next week or so. They usually release, I think, around like Wednesday or Thursday. So be expecting that, but I'm hyped, and this roster is looking like it's going to be crazy. Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments, man, and I'm going to see y'all on the next one. We up.